Om Poornnamadah Poornnamidam Puurnnat-Purnnam-Udacyate Puurnashya Puurnnam-Aadaaya Puurnam-Eva-Avashissyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So there is a reason I waited so long to do this mantra with you. It transmits the entire essence of the Vedas. Hence, without some background, which you all have now with Tattvabodha, understanding would have been very difficult. Even now, it might not fully register what it means. And as your journey with Vedanta continues, you will have a deeper understanding of it every time. So this Shanti Pata is a prayer verse that all Upanishads begin with. And each of the Vedas has a particular Shanti Pata common to the Upanishads in it. So this particular Shanti Pata is from the Shukla Yajurveda. And it's very unique though. In all the other Shanti Patas, there is a prayer asking for something. For example, the Shanti Pata from the Samaveda, which starts Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Pranashchakshushottramato Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani, which you might have heard. So that Shanti Pata is asking for physical and mental strength, asking that I may have Shraddha, that I may have all these sadhana chatushtaya qualities. May there be no obstacles to this study. Similarly, all other Shanti Patas are prayer asking for something. However, this particular one is not asking for anything. It's a statement of fact where the whole entire essence of the Vedas are being revealed in this. And like I said, that's the reason I waited so long to do this mantra with you. Even now, I think it might be a bit early for some. So just the English translation, of course, won't give you much at all, like most of our mantras. The simple English translation doesn't really do. Apparently, one English scholar came to learn the scriptures from a Pandit in India, and the Pandit started the study with this Shanti Pata and dutifully translated it. He said, that is whole, this is whole, from that whole, this whole came, from that whole, this whole removed, what remains is the whole. I believe the Englishman stopped the study at that point and said the Vedas are prattlings of an infantile mind. Unlike the Englishman, though, someone else said, let all the Upanishads disappear from the face of the earth. I don't mind as long as this one verse remains. Of course, unlike the Englishman, and the person who said this had something which hopefully all of you here also have, which is Shraddha in the words of the Shastra and the teacher. And you will wait to hear the entire explanation before making up your mind about that. So let's look at a slightly better expanded translation. It could translate to Puurnnam-Adah, that is the fullness, the infinite Brahman. Puurnam-Idam, this manifested universe is the fullness, the infinite Brahman. Puurnnat-Purnnam-Udacyate, from that fullness, this fullness has emerged. Puurnashya Puurnam-Aadaaya, in this manifested universe, if you recognize the infinite here, Puurnam-Eva-Avashissyate, then infinity alone remains. So in short, that is fullness, the infinite Brahman. This manifested universe is fullness, the infinite Brahman. From that fullness, this fullness has emerged. In this manifested universe, if you recognize the infinite here, then infinity alone remains. So we will, of course, break it down further. So this verse has a single noun, Puurnam. Puurnam is this very beautiful Sanskrit word which means completely filled, wholeness, absolute fullness, lacking nothing whatsoever, and not limited by time or space. When we looked at the quality of Viveka, when we did Tattvabodha, Viveka being discernment, we saw the definition of Viveka. Hopefully you remember, we said Viveka was Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, the discernment between what is Nityam, eternal, and what is Anityam, not eternal. Another definition of Viveka is also discernment between what is Puurnam and what is Apurnam. So by this, of course, I'm telling you that Nityam and Puurnam can be used interchangeably. From this kind of Viveka, true Vairagyam comes. When one starts to turn away from what is Apurnam and goes towards what is Puurnam, and that becomes Mokshutvam. The Anitya, Apurna objects of the world no longer will have any hold over you. Somewhere deep down, we all have this innate sense that I am Purna, I am complete. That is why we get so disturbed with a feeling of lack. A sense of Apurvartam gives rise to desire to fill that lack. Shastra tells us that this mistaken sense of Apurna is the root cause of all misery. Purna is expressed as happiness, and lacking is expressed as sorrow. When there is Purna, fullness, Ananda, this feels natural to us because it is intrinsic, which is why when we are happy, we don't try to change anything. No one thinks, I'm too happy, let me try to get rid of some of this. But when we feel Apurna, we try to change that. That gives rise to desires and actions and that whole cycle. Without proper viveka, without proper discernment, we will go about trying to fill this lack of fullness from apurna objects of the world. But when turns to moksha, you will come to the realization that aham purna, I am complete. I always was and always will be. This verse then has two pronouns, Ada and Idam. This, that is Ada and this is Idam. Both are referring to the same noun Purnam. So they're both referring to Puurnnamadah, Puurnam-Idam, right? So that in general, the other, that in general refers to what is remote to the speaker. And this refers to what is near to the speaker. Other, that refers to everything that is remote to the speaker. It could be remote in terms of time, space, or knowledge. It is not perceptible. It is indirect knowledge. We call it paroksha jnana. It is beyond the range of senses. When we were doing Tattvabodha, I gave you that example of your friend who went to Australia and saw a kangaroo. So they were describing what is a kangaroo to you. And that was paroksha jnanam for you. It can be said that it refers to the unknown or what we consider unknowable even. It is the transcendental knowledge also comes under this. Hence, this will include what many might call God. Many take it on faith that God exists, and many others do not believe in God at all. So for a lot of people, when we say that, it could refer to all these range of knowledges. Now, in contrast to other, what is idam? This is usually something which is available for direct perception. It can be extended to include the whole perceptible universe. That it is either available for direct perception right now, or it could be available for direct perception at some point. It's available for your pratyaksha pramana, right? So not just everything which is known, but everything which is knowable through sense perception can come under idam. The mantra is telling us that They are both the same thing. They're both Poornnam. How can that be? Look at the process of how that becomes this. The thatness can be removed, can't it not? When the remoteness in time, space, or knowledge is removed, that the thatness can be removed. So if you might ask a friend, what is that mountain which is behind? And the friend might answer, oh, this is Arunachala, the mountain which is considered a living lingam, and many devotees, including Ramana Maharishi, chose to come and spend all their days here. So you asked, what is that? And the friend answered with this, because for him, the remoteness of that object was removed, because the remoteness and knowledge was removed. And when he revealed this statement to you, for you too, the remoteness is, knowledge is now removed, and now you can refer to this as this mountain that you now know of. Therefore, the remoteness of that can be destroyed and made this. This is the sense in which the mantra equates Ada and Idam. So any questions in what I said so far? We won't take any detailed questions, but just any clarification in what I already said if you need. Great. So yes, Shubhdaji.
So the indirect implication is to Brahman and Atman?
We will, yes, right now it can also be to that one explanation. Right now we're going with a little broader explanation where Ada, that is referring to everything unknowable. So let's just keep it at that right now. And Idam is everything that can be knowable through sense perception. So we're starting with that, then we'll keep building on it. And the definition of Idam in Ishava Upanishad, where this Shanti Pata appears, after it, the first verse defines Idam. It says, Idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. All this, whatsoever changing in this changing world. That's how Idam is being defined here. So once again, all this, whatsoever changing in this changing world. That's the definition of Idam we're going to take from the Shastra right now. So by Puurnam-Idam, the verse tells us that all that is which is known or capable of being known is Purna. So that might seem problematic for some people, because this mountain behind me, yes, it's beautiful, but it doesn't look like fullness, not like it has everything. I might hold a bottle in my hand, but I don't see the fullness, the infinite in this bottle, right? So there is a small problem in understanding this statement. There is one more problem. When I say everything that I perceive is a problem we ourselves raised earlier in our study. When you say everything knowable to me, all objects knowable to me, what is being left out? The subject I is being left out, and thus comes in the other pronoun, Adam, that. So in the context explained just now, where Idam is being used for all knowable objects, this Ada, that would refer to what is being left out, which is not available for objectification. And that is the subject I. Therefore, in contrast to how we defined Idam, Adam refers to Aham, I. We defined Adam earlier as something remote in time, space, or knowledge. And now we are saying Adam refers to I. How can that be? I'm right here. I'm right now. I'm not remote. Again, we all have this innate sense that I exist and I'm here. So how can I be remote? Am I perhaps remote in terms of knowledge then? through our study so far, we did see that we all have some misconception of what is the real I. And it is only through Shabda Pramanam that I can know my real nature. And we also saw how this particular knowledge about I differs from both Pratyaksha and Paroksha, right? Pratyaksha was knowledge available for direct sense perception and about an object, and Paroksha was indirect knowledge, again about an object. But whereas the knowledge that Shastra is trying to give you is not about an object at all. It is about the subject. And this knowledge can only be given by Shabda Praman. So thus far, the first two lines of the verse told us, Puurnnam-Idam, completeness is I, the subject. Puurnam-Idam, completeness is all objects known and knowable. Are we clear so far? What is Puurnam-Idam and Puurnam-Idam?
Clear, Spandana.
Yes,
Spandana
Maharaj.
ji.
Quite clear.
Okay. Okay. So on the onset, when we say completeness is I, the subject, and completeness is all objects known and knowable, on the onset, each seems to leave out the other. However, when we look at, each seems to leave out the other when we look at from the point of view of Adam or Idam, but when we look from the standpoint of the word Puurnam itself, what does Puurnam mean? Puurnam means wholeness, completeness. It means that it includes everything. Puurnam cannot be minus something and it cannot be plus something. And hence it must be understood when we have these two statements that completeness is all there is. So why is this mantra bothering with this and that, then Ada and Idam? Why is it not just telling us Puurnam is all there is? Is it just trying to make a riddle out of this knowledge, or some kind of poetic license is being taken? None of that. It's a very profound verse. And the reason it starts off like this is because each of these clear a particular confusion that we have. My everyday experience says that I, the subject, am different from everything I experience. I see this mountain and I'm different from the mountain. I don't feel I'm same as this mountain. Moreover, in my experience, I do not feel complete, nor do I look at this mountain and see fullness in this mountain. Each of these statements is meant to clear a certain confusion. Ada and Idam in the Shanti Pata are used not to just to create poetry or riddle, but to acknowledge the perception, the experience of duality. So all of you now know the term mithya very well, which exists only in Vedanta. Vedanta accepts the experience of duality while telling us that it is not the ultimate reality. The aim of Vedanta is not for you to experience non-duality. This experience can happen in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is the highest state achieved through yoga. But it's a state and it's not permanent and it's not what we are after ultimately. The aim is not to be afraid of the experience of duality, but to recognize the mithyatvam of that experience and hence transcend it. The experience of duality is perfectly fine. The conclusion of duality is what we do not want. Shastra asks us to drop the wrong notion that I am different from the world or Ishvara and these are different from me. It's hard to see the fullness in any perceivable objects, all the idams. They all have name and form, and every form is limiting. A little inquiry will tell us that fullness in nature must be formless because it cannot have any boundaries. Anything which has a form has a limiting boundary, and everything I perceive has a form. So this might be a bit hard to accept the fullness in these objects that I see. Hence, it might be a bit easier to accept Adam, that which I cannot perceive, may be formless and hence fullness. But the next line then tells us, Puurnnat-Purnnam-Udacyate. From that fullness, this fullness has emerged. Right? What are we talking about now? We are talking about a topic we discussed very extensively in Tattvabodha, of creation. From the discussion so far, so the question might arise, how can this fullness comprising of the world of forms come from that fullness, which is formless? We can take the example of the gold and the gold chain. From the relatively formless gold, a chain of a particular form is made. Right? At this point, we can refresh some Tattvabodha. When we looked at creation, we said Ishvara is the Upadana Karanam, the material cause, and also the Nimitta Karanam, the efficient cause. Right? I hope you all remember what these terms mean. So when we talk about the gold and the gold chain, there is a limitation with that example that the gold is the material cause of the gold chain, and the goldsmith is the efficient cause of the gold chain. But when we look at Jagat, we said the creator created this universe out of himself. So to kind of understand how this is possible, we gave the spider example. When a spider weaves a web, the material of the web is coming from the spider itself. And the spider is the one which is intelligently also weaving the web. So in that example shows us how something can be both the material cause and the efficient cause. And to clear another confusion which might arise about, because we are saying the product is same as the cause, right? In this case, we are saying, when we say this manifested universe is Puurnam, and what it came from is also Puurnam, we're effectively saying both are one and the same thing. The cause and the effect are exactly the same thing. How can that be? So to clear this other confusion, we often talk about the dream example. So when you go to sleep at night and this whole dream universe is created, what is it created out of? It's created out of yourself. It's created out of your knowledge and intelligence. There is nothing external which is present in that dream universe. And when you wake up, this dream universe again resolves onto yourself, right? In your dream, they're both sentient beings and insentient beings which have form. And all these are nothing but yourself, right? So we use that other example to see how the product can be the same as the cause. So the mantra is telling us that the cause is Puurnam and the effect is also Puurnam. Effectively saying the cause and effect are one and the same thing, and also saying that causality itself is negated. Because by definition of cause and effect, it usually means something new is created out of something else. So we can say the causality itself is negated because the mantra is telling us that there is no difference between cause and effect. and hence negating duality. So, yes. Did someone have a question? So when we look at the clay and the pot, from clay, the pot was created. But where is the pot? If I want to know the weight of the pot, it's only the clay. If I want to touch the pot, all I touch is clay. Where exactly is this pot? There is only clay. Pot is just the name and form alone. The mithyatvam of the world is only a step in Vedantic inquiry. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya is only a step in your Vedantic inquiry to clear certain sets of confusion. And at some point in the journey, we transcend that understanding and get to Sarvam Brahman. There is only Brahman. So is the world real? It depends on who is asking. If a random person on the street wants to know, yes, the world is real. To an inquirer, it is anirvachaniya. It's mithya. It's not the truth, but it's not nothing either. You perceive it, you experience it, you just experience it as something which is not really there, which does not really exist. It's like when you experience a snake, when you see the rope in our famous Raju Sarpa example, you see the rope in the dim twilight and you mistake it for a snake and generates real fear. Right? But then the light comes, shines on it, and the rope reveals itself to be the snake. The snake reveals itself to be the rope, and the fear, everything goes away. So there was some reality in that perception, but it got negated by a superior pramana. Right? So, and similarly to when this revealed itself, where was actually the rope? It was exactly where the snake was. So you were always looking at it, but you just had a mistaken knowledge about what it was. To the enlightened one, there is no world. There is Brahman alone. There is only this one reality alone. So to the question of, is the world real, really depends on who is asking. By saying that both Adam and Idam are Puurnam, the mantra is conveying the idea that both the formless and the form are both Brahman. The idea that God is something we cannot see is negated. And the idea that God is only something we can see is also negated. The formless and form are both one reality. An unlimited, infinite God must be formless. And any form of the Lord that we worship must automatically include everything, which is all the other forms and the formless also. So understanding of a God with form is limited, and understanding of a God without form is also limited. Puurnam must include both these. Any questions so far? We just have the last quarter of the verse left. Are you overwhelmed with the explanation so far, or understood everything?
I've heard of the mantra and a bit of the translation, but never understood it the way you are saying it right now, like Adam, Idam, and then from that you say it
Mhm.
makes sense.
Are you able to relate it to what we did in Tattva Bodha?
Yes, yes.
So we had the whole section on this on the microcosm and the Veshti Vichara, and we had the whole section on Samashti Vichara. So you see, like even this taking this one mantra, I could do. One could teach the entire Vedanta with this one mantra. And so because it has all these bit of pieces.
I like the way that you explain, Spannaji, that to this transformation.
Thank you. All right. So let's continue. So the last bit, no, we're not quite. Yeah, the last bit says, Puurnashya Puurnam-Aadaaya. So taking away Puurnam from Puurnam, adding Puurnam to Puurnam, Puurnam-Eva-Avashissyate. Puurnam alone remains. So if you take away gold from chain, if you melt away some of the gold from the chain, the shape of the chain may be gone, but the gold remains, right? Similarly, if you add some more gold to the chain, so the original shape of the chain might be again gone, but the gold alone remains. Take the chain and melt the whole thing. The shape is completely gone, but again, gold remains. Thing is, you didn't have to add or remove the gold from the chain. There was always only gold. Right? So the idam, the object of the world, objects of the world don't have to be eliminated to reveal Brahman any more than the chain has to be melted to reveal the gold. If you see carefully the chain, you can always see the gold. So you don't need to go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi to see Brahman, to experience Brahman. Every experience that you're having is an experience of Brahman. The experiencer is Brahman. The experience itself is Brahman. The object of the experience is Brahman. And all this is playing out on the screen, which is Brahman. So you can have this darshana of Brahman with every experience by simply recognizing what is there. Any of this adding or removing of the gold, that is mithya. Any difference between the formed and the formless is mithya. And the funny thing is, after all this inquiry that you're doing, what is it that you're attaining? You're not attaining anything that was not there before. And after all this inquiry, what are you removing? You're not removing anything which wasn't there before. Nothing. Thinking that there is something to attain or something to remove is mithya. That's from the Paramatmika. That's from the absolute level of reality. From the Vyavaharika point of view, what will be removed is samsara, and what will be attained is unlimited bliss. So while we are at this understanding, it's still worthwhile pursuing this sadhana. And when do you drop the sadhana? When you no longer have a question, do I need to do sadhana? So you have to remember, I am that limitless. I am this limitless ocean. Waves may appear in me and disappear, but I am this limitless vast ocean. I am undisturbed by any of these waves. I myself am unchanging. And even the little waves which appear are a manifestation of my glory alone. So that is the entire mantra. Any questions? So I tried to keep it a bit as short and simple as possible. We can, like I said, we can do whole series of sessions on just this, but hopefully this gives you an understanding and we can revisit it again at later point in your Vedantic journey.
It's almost like the same concept of infinity, that infinite is infinite. Whatever you do to it, remove it, add it.
Absolutely. So what you have to understand is very simple in Vedanta. Understand and assimilate. It's very simple. All the texts will tell you the same thing. Each will clear some bits of confusions that we might have.
No, it's very interesting. It goes to maths and science and everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of Poornnam. I was always fascinated by this verse.
Yeah, it's yeah, there is a reason. It has the entire essence. So right now you could you would have understood some bit of it. As your understanding grows, you will have more, like later on when you come to Nididhyasanam phase and have the understanding of the entire vision of Vedanta, you can just take this one verse and meditate on the entire teaching using verses like this. So you can take each part, even now you can use it for contemplation. You can take each part. When we say, Idam, this is fullness, what do I mean? Everything that I see, you can meditate on it. I mean, you can meditate, contemplate on it right now itself, like when you meditate on the fact that everything that I'm seeing, these trees, these birds, these buildings, everything is fullness itself. What does that really mean? You can contemplate. All right. And again, when we say that is fullness, the creator. So right now you might have an Ishtadevata. So who you're worshipping, you're seeing this form of the Lord as the creator that you're worshipping. When I say this is this Lord I worship is fullness, what does that mean? How does he extend beyond this form to create everything? So you can make every experience, every interaction, every moment in your day a point of an opportunity for this Vedantic contemplation. So Vedantic contemplation doesn't happen in this 1 hour that you come to class every weekend. This teaching, then you do so much Shravanam because then they become your thoughts, and you keep that contemplation alive in every moment of your day. It'll partly happen automatically, partly you can also redirect your thoughts in that way. So when you're just, sitting around waiting for things, you could be chanting, you could be recalling the lyrics of some movie song, or be annoyed with being stuck in traffic, or instead you can go to this Vedantic contemplation, contemplate on yourself and be filled with absolute joy. Great. So if there's any more questions, we can take that or end the sessions here. So the next week we are starting the new Tattva Bodha batch. As you know, if any of your known people have an interest in, any sincere seekers have an interest in being exposed to that teaching, feel free to pass on the link to register. And I know some of you here join midway and want to join again. You're very welcome, and I look forward to having you in class there. So let's put up the mantra once more and we can chant it. Om Puurnnam-Adah Puurnam-Idam Puurnam-Aadacyate Puurnashya Puurnam-Aadaaya Puurnam-Eva-Avashissyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Sat.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, Spannaji.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Spandanaji.
Thank you, Spandanaji.
Thank you, Spandanaji.